Welcome to this episode of the PA System. On this episode, I'm talking with Daniel Blue about how he helps individuals know what the heck to do with their retirement account. So thanks for being on the show today, Daniel.
Hey, Pamela, thank you so much for having me here today. Super excited.
Yeah, for sure. Great to have you. So for those who are listening and may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about you and how you ended up finding this passion of yours.
Yeah, so I'll just get right into the nitty gritty. So I'll start first with some really, really big mistakes slash things I'm really grateful for. One, I got addicted to drugs, more specifically Oxycontin when I was 18 years old. And then while I was in the darkest of my days, I found out that I was having a daughter. So I ended up getting the mother of my child, Bella, her mom pregnant when I was 18 years old. And I can tell you, Pamela, I was just in no position to be a father. I was just a piece of crap and just in a really low point in my life. But I truly believe that God gave me a daughter at that point in time as like my last ditch effort to turn my life around. So I'm 18 years old. I'm addicted to Oxycontin. I've got a child on the way and I dropped out of college. And I had no clarity on my life as far as what I wanted. I was just like a trash bag in the wind that just wherever the wind would take that bag, it was going there. Right. And having my daughter definitely gave me some peace, some clarity, and helped me kick the Oxycontin. I've been clean since 2009, and so those were some pivotal moments in my life. And then I ended up getting into sales, 18, 19 years old, and I found a lucrative way to be able to make some money along the way, but then also learn real estate. That's where I got to understand what I'm involved in my business in terms of helping people use their retirement accounts other than just the stock market. So this was something that was a concept that was explained to me when I was 18, 19 years old. And I was really floored by it, Pamela, because I always thought 401k and IRAs and pensions were just for the stock market. And you can never touch that money without paying penalties and taxes until you're old and retired. That's not true. You actually can access your retirement account dollars penalty and tax free now and use the money to do things like invest in your own business, invest in real estate. So way more options than just the stock market. So I took that concept that was planted in my head and I got into the space about 10 years ago, and it's been a fun ride since.
Wow. Okay. I want to dig into that a little bit more, but before we do that, I want to just backtrack a tiny bit because I think your story is too powerful to gloss over. So I want to hear, what was it like? I mean, what did you do to get out of that place? I mean, I hear that you say, you kind of had inspiration in your daughter, but I'm sure that wasn't an easy journey to get out of what you were in as a kid and really step into adulthood like overnight.
Yeah. And I'll get real with your audience. So that way, we're just getting down to the nitty gritty, even the dark times. So my daughter actually wasn't enough. She was an inspiration, but she wasn't enough. And I say that because I wasn't actually there when she was born. And that's something I have to live with. I didn't see my daughter until she was 2 weeks old. So as a dad, you're in the delivery room, you're cutting the umbilical cord, right? Like I didn't get to experience that. And it's one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. Now, what helped me get to the other side and shed the old me and kill the old version of me that was a piece of crap was gratitude and forgiveness. And I say that because when most people are making dumb choices like abusing alcohol, getting addicted to drugs, just making bad personal choices, they're usually masking something. There's something they're running from. Their anger, they have anger issues, resentment. There was just something that happened usually in their childhood. And that was me. I was 12 years old. My parents got divorced. My dad ended up moving to Mexico, and that broke my heart because I was really, really close with my dad. So when he left, when I was 12, I didn't know why he left and why he never came back. And I was just crushed. And now it's just my mom and I, and there was a lot of struggle financially because my dad was completely out of the picture, 100% emotionally, financially, every way, shape, or form. So I held a lot of resentment and anger towards my dad. And that made it to where I started making, just some bad choices. And I was making it worse because I was a victim. I would had the mentality of being a 16-year-old and seeing my friends with their dads, and
Mm,
I was a victim. I was, man, how come Brendan gets to have his dad show him
right,
how to drive? How come I don't have my dad teach me how to drive a stick car?
right.
How come, Bob's dad can show him how to tie a tie or change the oil on a car, but where's my dad? Right. So
Yeah.
it's just like me, 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 me. And it all changed for me, Pamela, when I had Bella, when I had my daughter and I held her in my arms, because I remember
Mm,
like it was yesterday, I was holding her and I look at her and I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. That's my blood. Like,
yeah.
that's my daughter. And this whole father daughter kid parent relationship hit me. And I thought, man, that's how my dad must feel about me. And then I
Mm,
immediately just shifted my mindset. Instead of being a victim and me, 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 it was, you know what? I'm grateful that I even had a dad because he was an
mm,
awesome dad up until I was 12 years old. And some people, they don't even have a dad. Or if they
yeah.
have a dad, they're a piece of crap their whole life. And I at least got 12 great years. And I'm
Mm,
grateful that I had that. And yeah, he's a knucklehead and he made some bad choices, but I forgive him. Like he's still my dad. I'm grateful
mm,
that he's even alive. So I remember reaching out to him, just letting him know I love him and we can get past all
yeah.
that. And that allowed me to find some peace, and that allowed me
Mm.
to move on with my life. And I do believe that was a catalyst in helping me get clean.
Wow, that's huge. I mean, I have to tell you, I mean, I'm sitting here listening to your story, and it literally sounds like my son's exact story, almost to the age that you were. And it, as a mom, like watching those things happen is so hard to see your kids struggle like that, to see the pain, and to then see as they grow up how they have to navigate that and work around some of those things in their lives. So I think it's really extraordinary that you at that point in time did the work. I mean, and I think that looks different for everyone, but ultimately, to just be able to kind of face things head on and say, I'm making the decision today to do something different so that the future looks different for my child. That's just beautiful. Love that.
Yeah, it's I appreciate that, but I can't really take a bunch of the credit. My mom was so instrumental, and maybe you can relate to this with your son. One of the things I was grateful for was the relationship I had with my mom. Right now,
Mm,
I'm grateful that my dad actually left.
yeah.
If I had the choice to either have him up until I was 18 or he leaves at 12 and we repeat this, I would have chose he leaves at 12 and repeat this because
Mm,
it
yeah.
allowed me to grow up quicker. It gave me a different perspective. I'm a huge believer on perspective, right? Perspective drives your decisions. Perspective helps you make choices, right? And
Yeah.
the choice I made was, man, I'm just grateful that my dad left because then I got really closer with my mom. I'm a mama's
Mm,
boy. I talk to my mom every day,
yeah.
and her and I are super super tight because we went through a lot of adversity because
Mm,
the choice my dad made, and I wouldn't change that for anything. So, having that perspective is really huge, and the people listening and watching this, maybe you didn't have a dad or a mom leave when you were 12 years old, but you probably had something similar or maybe worse, where it was, some kind of adversity or maybe someone hurt you. I always just tell people the hard the hard stuff like that, it's easy to run away from, right?
yeah.
That's why it was so
Right.
easy for me to just mask that. Like, let me just get high. Let me just do pills.
Right.
But until you face your demons and you run towards what this issue is, it's just going to keep popping up in your life. So I
Mm,
wouldn't have been able to find true peace and be the father I am today and be clean if I didn't run towards that problem, run towards that
so
issue,
good.
run towards those really bad feelings I had and
Yeah.
address it individually with my dad. So then that way I can move on with my life.
That's so powerful. And I mean, I think we've seen so many people struggle over the last few years, and people have lost people, they've lost parents or they've lost kids, and that is so painful. But to be able to face that, like you're saying, and not turn to those things that really ultimately are only going to make it worse, is just, I mean, just really incredible. And so I think, it is an important message for people to hear. It's just, if you're in that spot, reach out, get help, right? And move in the direction of dealing with it, not just trying to sweep it under the rug and survive it, right?
Yeah, my brother, he's a chaplain, right? So he deals with
Yeah,
death, people on their deathbeds every day, every
yeah,
week.
sure,
He's been doing
right.
that a long time. And he told me the other day, he says, Danny, when people are on their deathbed and I'm with them and they only live 3 minutes, 5 minutes while I'm there, he's like, I hear a lot of regrets.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
number one regret I hear about isn't, I wish my business would have made more money. I wish I would have worked more. I wish I would have went on more vacations. Right.
Yeah.
It was always, man, I wish I would have reached out to that person, or
Mm.
I wish I would have mended that relationship. I wish I
Yeah.
would have talked to them more. It was always a relationship.
What you were saying about your brother and the work that he does is that one of my earliest jobs in life was working in long-term care and home health, and I really love that that happened so early on in my life because it really gave me perspective and it helped me to really understand the context of our life and what it means to age, and what is it like when you get to that stage of your life, and where do you want to be and what do you want that to look like. And so, I mean, I just think that's super valuable to think about, to put our lives into that perspective and think about, what am I investing in? Am I investing in staying stuck in a place that I don't want to be stuck in anyway? Or am I investing in moving my life forward and becoming the person I really want to become and leaving a legacy for my family or for whoever comes behind me that, will be one of love or change or prosperity or abundance or whatever, you want to leave behind. And so I think it's really a beautiful, beautiful thing that you have done that. So let's talk a little bit about that legacy and what that looks like and what you actually are doing now.
Yeah. So just keeping it real with the audience, I love what our company stands for and what we do, right? We help people access their money penalty and tax free, right? And they can use that money to start a business, right? We've had a lot of people that we've helped leave corporate, start their own business, and they use their retirement account to fund their business.
Wow.
And they were able to have their business provide them a great life now, and we played a small part in that. So that stuff is really awesome. I think passion and purpose are two things that as human beings we should be aware of and just be super super real with. When you look in the mirror and you think, what's my passion, what's my purpose. And I'm not passionate about 401ks and IRAs. I just keeping it real, my purpose cup is filled through this business, through 401ks and IRAs, because my purpose is impacting people. And I
Sure.
truly want to get to a point in my life where I have both cups filled. I have passion
Mm.
and purpose filled. And I'm on my way there. I'm 33 years old. My business is only 4 years old. We've got about 13 employees. So I need to put more into my business and growing my team and empowering my team. So, Quest Education can keep growing. I look at a business as a kid. Right now we're a toddler, right? I want to get this business to where it's super mature and I can find a place in my life where my passion and my purpose cup is being filled. And I
Mm.
think that's a really important thing for you to think about, because think about the times that you've been really down, the times you've been in a funk, that month, that 6 month, that year that was just really tough for you. You probably were off in one of those two areas.
Mm.
More so, you probably didn't have both of those cups filled at the same time. And if
Right.
your passion and your purpose cup are not being filled, it's easy to be in a funk. It's easy to feel like you have a rain cloud over you and that thing can just not go away. It's like
Yeah.
rainy day forecast
Right.
every single day. And you're just like, can I catch a break? Well, you
Yeah.
can if you are self-aware of what you're doing or not doing to fill up your purpose cup and your passion cup. So,
Mm.
for me, I'm making moves so where in the near future I can have both of those cups filled, and it's okay to not have both of them filled at the same time. People, especially in 2022, and you're scrolling Instagram, you see some posts where it's like, love what you do so you never feel like you're working. It's like, come on, that's not real life. Yes, I'm sure there's
Right.
outliers, but a
Uh,
lot of the times we're doing the things that we really don't want to do, but
right.
it's what gets us from point A to point B. And as long as you have a bigger picture and a bigger purpose and you're thinking ahead, there's times where you just have to fill in those gaps. And it's just a vehicle to get you to your ultimate point of having that purpose and that passion being filled. So don't get too down on yourself if you feel like you're in a place right now where maybe you're not where you want to be, or you're
Mm.
not content. That's okay. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not fully content. I'm grateful. I'm very happy
Sure.
with my life. However, I know there's a lot of work to be done. And I just want to say to the audience, just make sure you've got one of those two cups filled, either your passion or your purpose. Ideally, have both of them.
Mm, that's really good. So tell us a little bit about what that looked like, because obviously for you, you were still kind of a kid when you were venturing into the business world. And I know you said you started out in sales, but how did you really come to the point of starting your own business and starting to understand these principles that you're talking about?
Yeah, so we really have to rewind back into, I'm 33 years old. So back when I'm like 22, 23. So we're talking 2012. I just got over really being down and out. 2008, 2009, I was making a lot of money. I just had Bella, but my life on the outside looked like it was doing well, but inside I was losing control. I bought a house at the peak of the market in back in '08. I lost my house.
Wow.
I went from driving a Range Rover to having a nice house to now I don't have a house and I'm driving a Mazda 3. And I have a crap credit score. I owe the IRS money. And I get to a point where once I was able to overcome drugs and just have a better state of mind, I just start changing the way I live my life. I start spending way less than what I'm making. I'm more intentional. I'm learning about credit scores. I'm getting with an accountant and setting up an LLC and just setting up some tax strategies and just being more intentional on the tax side. So I've always been able to deliver in the workplace. Yeah, I'm a college dropout. However, I came from sports. I played sports growing up. So one thing about sports, I always had the mentality of whatever sport I was playing, basketball, soccer, it didn't matter. What can I do to make sure that the coach doesn't pull me out? Right? Like, can I make the plays that the team needs for me to make where the coach has a decision and that decision is I can't take Daniel out. Like we need him on the field.
Right.
And that was just always my mentality. And that's the same thing with business. When I was an employee is how can I add value to the team? How can I add value to the company where my boss, the owner, has no choice but to promote me, no choice but to keep moving me up because I'm just adding value to my teammates. I'm adding value to the company. So that helped me throughout my corporate career. And as I was elevating in the corporate life, personally, I was making better decisions. I'm starting to invest money. I'm putting money in the stock market. I'm saving money. My credit score is looking good. I'm getting more strategic on the tax side of things. And about 4 years ago, I get to a point where I'm thinking, I've been doing this for a company for a number of years and I've moved up within the company and I understand this business pretty well, thanks to me learning a lot of my own, but just having a ton of mentors, a ton of people that have showed me the game over a long period of time. Why can't I just start my own business? I have the credit and the money set aside to go all in and invest into myself and invest into a company. And I have great relationships where I can bring people together. Let's just make it happen. And I always thought, okay, if it doesn't work, I just go back to being an employee. Right? I know I can deliver there, but let me see what this business side looks like. I'm competitive enough and confident enough in myself where I believe I can make this happen. And that was 4 years ago. And we've been at it since and been having a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think it's good for people to hear, like, just because you're an employee for a period, I mean, we're sort of in this culture where it's like you have to own your own business. And that's not necessarily the case, and sometimes it's better if you don't. And I think especially, people in their 20s, this has kind of become a really popular thing, right? Start your own business, become an Instagram star, whatever. And the reality is you can learn so much by being an employee because you're going to see things inside companies that you wouldn't otherwise see. I mean, I was an employee for 20 years almost before I started my own business, and there was so much that I learned between the ages of 16 and, 35, basically, that I wouldn't have learned had I not been inside companies and seen, what works, what doesn't, and, what does it mean to hire employees that aren't good employees? What does it cost the company to lose bad employees and all those parts and pieces of businesses, right? There's just so much to learn. And I think what you're saying is beautiful because it not only one gives credit to being an employee. If that's where you are in your life, that's a great place to be. Go all in, learn everything you can learn. Right. And if you're past that point, then great, go all in and build your business. And so that's really amazing. And you're helping people to do that, obviously, with what you're doing now, which is amazing. So tell us kind of, if people are, I know we're running a little short on time, but if people are interested in finding out more about what you do and how to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so danielblue.me is my site, and on my site I've got a lot of free information. A lot of what we briefly touched on. I get more in the nitty gritty. I've wrote a lot of articles for Forbes talking about how to use your retirement account penalty and tax free to fund your business or invest in real estate, things of that nature. So a lot of free content on my website. I also have my own podcast called How Winners Win, and we're on all the major platforms. And that podcast is there to serve people in the realm of teaching them how to win in their financial life, their entrepreneurial life, their personal life, all that kind of fun stuff. So go check that out. And then I've got a book I wrote called Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. And that book is a simple, easy read that shows you how to make money tax-free, how to access your IRA, your 401k penalty and tax-free. And there is a way for you to purchase the book on the website. You can go to Amazon, get on Audible. You can buy the hard copy, but the link that you see on the screen. And if you want to get your hands on the book for free, because I want to give back to the listeners here, you can just go to danielblue.me/book. It's danielblue.me/book. I know that's probably going to be in the show notes or there on the screen. And there you can get your hands on the book for free. And I promise you will not fall asleep reading that book. I know the financial world, there's a lot of those books out there that are like 300 pages long, and they're just using words that are going way over your head. I wrote this book with the intention of just keeping it nice and simple and giving you actionable information and just having it be short, simple, easy to read. That can help you out after you read it.
I love that. And I told you before I came on this show that I'm not super financially literate. So I'm going to pick up this book. I think this will be good for me. But I just want to thank you again for being here. And do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to share with the audience?
Buckle up, get ready. I say that because I lost my house in 2008. I was 18 years old, and that was my first recession, right? And I was just a complete newbie, right? Had no idea, but it's different now. I'm 33 years old. I lived through one recession. Maybe some of you, watching, listening to this have not lived through a recession, or maybe you're like, man, I was doing this in 2000 when the dot-com, recession happened, right?
Right.
This is a cycle. It is going to happen. And the winners that come out of this next recession are going to be the ones that made the right choices along the way. I think a good example is COVID. When COVID happened, lockdowns happened, a lot of people use that as a time to just coast, take their foot off the pedal and not use that time to invest in themselves, to grow, to get better. Because yes, there's times like COVID, like a recession, where it's easy to just kind of sit back, watch the news and just worry about gloom and doom. But telling you, the world's going to keep spinning. You're going to keep having bills. We're going to come out of this recession, and then what, right? So use this time as a way for you to get smarter in the financial world, to get smarter, maybe pick up a tech, strategy, learn how to do, social media or whatever it is, just like some kind of skill set that you can pick up, because it is going to serve you in your future. You is going to thank you.
So good. Well, thank you again. And we're going to have you back for another show so we can talk a little bit more in depth about what that would look like to learn what you need to know to navigate the recession. But for this show, I guess we're going to call it good. Thank you for all of you out there listening. So much appreciation going out to you as always. And if this helped you, if you got something out of this show, please do share it out. You never know who needs to hear this and might be really encouraged by Daniel's story. So thank you again. And I look forward to